NVIDIA blew it. And more on the Tech Summit Podcast, episode 32. I am Francisco.
I'm Chris.
And if you're watching on YouTube, then do make sure to take a look at the social media that is going to be right here on the screen. And you can also check out the description.
And if you are listening in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, all of that information will be in the respective descriptions.
That's right. But with that said, we have more NVIDIA news, and that is essentially the stuff that I'm sure a lot of you have been hearing as of recently, and that's that you still can't buy a video card today, not at MSRP, not even close to MSRP, because scalping has only gotten worse with time.
A little loud.
It's okay.
That just amplifies just how sick and tired all of us are. Then, of course, I want to remind everybody that in the end, only I am allowed to directly complain about scalpers.
I'm only allowed to report on the news.
Exactly. Francisco is only allowed to report on what is happening, but he is not allowed to really directly complain about it.
Yeah. So here's my take. I'm just gonna listen to you after I deliver on the news here. And I'm just going to react, and that's about it.
Just thumbnail faces.
Yeah, and mine is just going to be a straight face, because of what I've done.
Now we'll put some duct tape on you, on your mouth a little bit, something like that.
Ah, there you go, Photoshop ideas.
In any case,
Yeah.
No, you actually can't talk about it, obviously. It's just a running joke. Anyway, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Tell us about it.
Okay, so the objective facts are that the RTX 3060 released recently for about $300, or was it around $330?
Now, let us be clear.
Yes.
Just because I often tend to forget, this is a 3060, not the 3060 Ti that already released.
That is correct.
Which is a weird backwards way of doing things, personally, but
I do agree. NVIDIA has been doing things this way for quite a while, though. I'm not saying that I agree with it, of course. Yeah. So the RTX 3060, not to be mistaken by the 3060 Ti, which released at $400, which is obviously being scalped for way more. The RTX 3060, the base card, that was releasing for around $300. It's supposed to be the most budget of the 3000 series cards for this generation. Well, you go on eBay, when it first released, I was seeing it for at least triple the price, and now it's gone down to around just more than double, somewhere in between that 2 times and X times pricing, which is pretty ridiculous, just considering that this is supposed to be a budget card, and it doesn't seem like scalpers are letting up. 1, 2, it doesn't seem like many measures are being taken to stop bots from actually being able to just snag all of these cards. 3, considering that mining is a thing again, a lot of miners are going after these cards as well. So now we have yet another competing market that doesn't necessarily have to do with scalpers, but we do still have to account for miners. And if we recall correctly from just a few years ago, there were a lot of issues getting cards at all, GTX cards at the time, because of miners, talking about the 10 series cards and things like that. So now, unfortunately, it looks like we are revisiting 2017, 2018, and things are only getting worse as they progress. So what is your subjective take?
Now, before we even get into all that stuff, there's something I feel like you've actually kind of glossed over very much in all that talk about scalpers. And don't get me wrong, scalpers are clearly the big hot subject when it comes to anything involving these cards nowadays. Everyone wants to hear about the scalpers. Everyone wants to hear us complain about the scalpers and all that stuff. But what exactly is the difference in performance from a 3060 and 3060 Ti?
It's not really going to be that significant. It is significant enough to justify the price difference between the 330 that I at least have seen it retail for. It could just be straight up 300 to the $400 price tag. Like, that difference would be justified for some people, but I would say that the 3060 is just the better value between that. Like, if you're going to get a 3060 Ti, then you might as well probably just get a 3070 and get a much bigger jump in performance there.
Right.
Yeah.
So 3060 does still support ray tracing, all that stuff. It's just more of a very much budget card.
Yeah. It's not like how it was with like the RTX 2060, where while it does still have ray tracing support, it really couldn't run it properly because it just wasn't a strong enough card. but this time around the 3060 does perform a lot better on that front. But it's not to say that it is the card to get if you're wanting to play games ray traced.
Right. Okay. No, because I just wanted to know, because obviously this card was kind of announced a little bit and then it just sort of dropped out, and then, obviously we're in the little puddle of poo that we're in now, but it's
Swimming in chocolate.
but no, I just want to make sure that I thought I was hearing vibrations, but
Okay. I thought that you were going to like throw up or something. My
No.
apologies.
no. But I mean, what can really be said more when it comes to the scalping issue? Obviously, there's a lot of like deep diving we can do about why scalpers, but but I mean, we don't have the time slot for that. Like, that's a way longer discussion that could probably cover multiple episodes, honestly. And
It's almost like a documentary.
honestly,
Yeah.
it's something I'm considering doing it myself, actually, for my eventual YouTube channel that's
Do it.
still not being plugged.
Do it.
Like, I would like to go into the sort of like deep dive history of like scalping, I suppose.
Hmm.
Yeah, because obviously scalping is an issue in multiple industries.
Yeah.
It has always been an issue with sneakers.
Yeah.
It's been an issue with concert tickets. It's
Mhm.
been an issue with anything Nintendo ever released.
That is true with virtually every one of their consoles. It was definitely a problem with the Switch when it released. It sold out so quickly.
Exactly. Switch, Amiibo, the Zelda Joy-Cons coming this summer. All of these things have been scalped, and Nintendo always is like, we didn't even know. we couldn't anticipate the stock. Obviously, we
Lies.
have consoles with like the PlayStation and Xbox. Obviously, the PlayStation more, but
We're Nintendo. We never thought that our stuff would sell that way, in spite of how it always sells.
so like scalping, it has a long, detailed, and storied history. It's just
Yeah.
that it's reaching a huge fever pitch right now with a combination of things. We have the consoles, we have the sneakers. I'm pretty sure are still being scalped. They're always being scalped.
Pretty sure, yeah.
We have every single GPU. Because the thing is, you're talking here about the 30 series.
Yeah,
But
it's every graphics card.
every single graphics card.
Yeah.
It's to a point that the 1050 Ti, the weak graphics card that I ditched
Mhm.
for my upgrades, has become like the hot item that is in stock and making a comeback for a lot of people.
How much is it being sold for now, actually? I'm
Let us
curious.
find out here on
Yeah.
the research station.
350,
$350.
not war. That this is still being scalped. Admittedly, I mean, come on,
$350
It's
for a
technically-
card that is so old, and
Yes,
it still runs games, but it is very clearly being outclassed at this point.
it is still a good card, like for sure. But I mean, come on,
For a
like
budget price, sure, but
it
like,
currently costs more than the 3060.
yeah, exactly.
And the 3060 definitely performs a lot better than a 1050 Ti. So this is pretty insane.
Yes, it is. And
Yeah.
why? Again, we're talking about a lot of like why these things are happening. You're saying mining, like because there is a resurgence in Bitcoin mining because Bitcoin's price has skyrocketed way high in the last couple months.
I would say that it's one of the reasons. But
I would argue that it's barely one of the reasons, because anyone who is worth their salt and is really looking into Bitcoin mining will also be able to tell that it costs more in electricity power to make a Bitcoin than it costs to like starting over. The cost of electricity is higher than the value of a Bitcoin, even right now, with it being around the $45,000 mark.
People still use it to mine other types of cryptocurrency that may still be easier to mine.
Those
for.
make a bit more sense.
Yeah.
They do, but there's also not necessarily as much money in them as a result. Like Ethereum cost is worth significantly less than Bitcoin.
Right, but these could still end up going way up as a result. Like now, like because of this
Maybe.
mining boom, because there's like a much higher demand than what there was even just like a year ago, for example. I'm pretty sure that this is what's pushing people to wanting to go
Oh,
even
mean,
further with it.
maybe, but I
Yeah.
feel like
it's like with the GameStop stock,
But
right?
I feel like we have to, as much as you don't want to, we do have to acknowledge the big elephant in the room as to why this scalping issue has become a huge, significant issue now,
What would that be?
and that is uncertain circumstances.
Yes.
That has led to a lot of people out of work, struggling to get by, and seeing a get-rich-quick scheme in front of them and thinking, let me get in on that. Let me get in on that. And subsequently, in many ways, let me take advantage of other people who are struggling.
For a second there, I thought that you were going to directly blame me for this shortage, for these issues. Okay.
No, I saw you bracing, and I thought you were on the same page as me, and that you were bracing for possible demonetization. Or something.
No. I trust you with that. I just don't trust you with my self-esteem at this point.
You are listen.
No, go.
As
go
much
for
as
it.
I love dunking on Francisco 4, and we must remember here, paying a scalper for a 3090 and a PlayStation 5, ultimately you're just one person. The market is not where it is right now because one person bought in on it.
Exactly, people. So listen to that specifically.
That
is
still
the
does
main-
not
no.
excuse you.
I believe it.
You still
it
contributed.
still doesn't. Yeah,
you
you're
still contributed to the market, but ultimately you are one cog in this machine.
Yes.
All right, and
Yes, that is true.
It is a machine that is currently being powered. Like, it is a machine as scalpers that exists because it is a get-rich-quick kind of thing.
Yeah.
And again, it's been a thing for a long time. For people out here who watch sitcoms, The Office had that one episode where Dwight bought all of the dolls in the Scranton area, this really popular doll, and was scalping them to people who were desperate to get them for their daughters for Christmas.
I don't think I ever got to that episode. I'll say.
This was I think it was 2008, 2009 that episode came around. This has been a thing for a while.
Okay.
But that that's the kind of thing. It's a get rich quick scheme.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the circumstances that we have right now, where a lot of people aren't actually able to work, period.
Yeah.
Suddenly a get rich quick scheme like that becomes a much more enticing thing.
It does become a lot more appealing, and you do make a very good point.
Scalping, the GameStop stock,
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin mining.
Yeah.
All of these things are means that people are trying to figure, they're trying to make money off of these things, possibly way more money than they may have had beforehand.
Yeah.
Because the circumstances that we are all in right now basically prevents anyone from being able to make a sustainable living unless you have one of those work at home jobs.
Yes. And even then, if you did have one of those work at home jobs, you probably, depending on your field, of course, let's say maybe you are a coder or a game dev, or let's say that you're just an artist working at home. Anything like that, you're probably going to need one of these more powerful graphics cards. Though if you have upgraded your system in the last year or two, then maybe you don't really have to stress that so much. But again, it does depend on your field.
Yeah.
That could really vary depending on the individual.
And of course, that's where the problem comes in. The idea of people doing what they can to make money is fine, especially in these current circumstances. The problem is the ethics of it.
Yeah.
There's a reason why people are mostly supportive of the people who are hoping for GameStop stock to go up.
Yeah.
Versus people who are chiding those who are scalping.
Yeah.
The GameStop stock issue is simply, maybe the really rich people or whatever are losing some money, but they can afford to lose that money easily because they got so much money over this whole year.
Yeah.
We'll say year.
Yeah.
I almost said the P word. Meanwhile, scalpers are directly taking advantage of people who probably don't already have a whole lot of money or a lot going for them at the moment. A big reason why people really wanted a PS5 is because they're stuck at home. They have nothing that they can really do. So, entertainment.
And the one thing to pour salt on that wound, for instance, is that a lot of scalpers have tried to defend their actions online, on social media, by looking for excuses such as, I need to scalp these graphics cards in order to be able to feed my family.
Which is see, again, it's difficult.
It doesn't make sense because they're still spending that money to buy these graphics cards.
Yeah, it is a bit of an investment kind of weird thing. It's if I invest $3,000 in 6 PS5s and then I can triple that money, that allows me to pad out for rent and food and stuff like that for the next several months, for however long the unemployment lasts or whatever it is. I'm trying to be nuanced about this. I am playing devil's advocate. I realize that a lot of people are going to look at what I'm saying and just say, screw that. Scalpers suck anyway.
It is a risk thing, though. I see what you're saying. And the thing is, I don't really believe that that's why at all, because that is highly contingent on the fact of whether or not these PlayStation 5s or, graphics cards will actually end up being sold, because a lot of people are boycotting them.
That is true. And of course, as we saw on eBay when we were looking at prices for the graphics cards, we saw listings of like pictures of the card that were supposed to be for supposed to be anti-bot measures.
Yes. Or I guess you could say that this was the real paper launch. Am I right?
Wrong one.
Thank you. I guess I should like signal when I'm about to make a joke so that you can also laugh on time.
I was preparing. I hear you saying, like you do that little pause where it's like, I guess this is and then I can already tell that something's about to come up.
It could just be my stutter.
You know, I could just. I can hit you with I can hit you with anything on this board.
I'll just remember the button.
The only thing I can't the only thing I cannot hit you with is our classic damn.
Yeah, because I deleted it. Aren't I just a hero?
I hate you.
I feed on your hate.
Anyway, so
Continue.
yeah, like we've spent many episodes just sort of complaining about scalpers and being like, we hate them. I do want to be at least a little bit more nuanced about this take, just because it is such a huge issue, and it's like there has to be some level of trying to figure out why this happened. What brought us to this case where every single graphics card is now being scalped, even as far back as the 1050 Ti. I would sell my card if my brother wasn't using it. That's the only thing. My brother's using it, so like I can't like just rip it out and be like, sorry, bro. Money calls, but
money calls. I mean, like, because it has been used like for the past couple of years.
It's not gonna go for 300. But
no, yeah. So it's probably not even worth selling on its own. Honestly.
I think it is worth selling. Like I think pre all of this, I was being told that card could possibly have gone for maybe like a 75 to 100, maybe even a little bit more than that. And I recall spending like 150 on the card at the time. So like,
right.
Like I feel like at this moment I'd probably be able to just make up the money full stop, like break even on it.
Sure, you could, but I think you're just better off keeping the card anyway and actually using it.
We're better off keeping the card right now, especially because if my brother is able to try and like build his own PC because he wants to do that, he can't. All the cards are being scalped.
Exactly.
There's no like all that does is just hurt him in the long run.
Yeah, and the 1050 Ti will also get him a long way, considering that he still has that card. And considering his usage,
he's able to play most of the games that he needs to play.
Yeah, his Rocket League runs well, I'm sure.
Yeah, Rocket League. He actually recently started playing Genshin too.
Very
surprising.
I see. He's a very trendy person.
No, I wouldn't say so at all.
If you're watching this, I'm making assumptions about you.
No, he does not.
Okay.
He does not watch this.
Fair enough. Oh, he doesn't watch this. Okay.
No.
I thought that it was that. No, he's not a trendy person.
No, he's not a trendy person either, but he also does not watch this.
Okay.
Which further demonstrates how he is not trendy.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, like there's a bit of a sort of nuance that I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Now it went on.
There you
There's
go.
a bit of nuance that I want to sort of adopt when it comes to this whole issue, because like I can totally believe that there are a couple of people who are in fact using this to try and like pad out their bills and stuff like that for the going future. Of course, again, it is a get rich quick scheme, and most people probably are just trying to get rich, and in the end, it is taking advantage of people who are also down on their luck. Like, there's a lot of defenses that I'm sure you've probably seen as well who are very much just like, that's just what the market is. Don't blame me. Don't hate the player, hate the game. And it's just like...
It's just capitalism, they'll say.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, that's not cool, dude. Come on.
No, yeah. Like, that's just an excuse to be a poopy hole.
Exactly. It's just it's very, like, not really... Like, it's justifying your immoral actions. And while there are some justifications that make more sense, I need to be able to feed my family because I lost my job or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's also a lot of, bad reasonings. That's just capitalism, baby. It's a get rich quick scheme. I don't want to work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like there's a lot of different takes about this, and I do want to explore, the history of this stuff and why it has happened. All that I do going forward.
Yeah. I would like to look into this as well.
Like, I don't know when I would have something like that published on YouTube or something like that, but it's, if there's interest, by all means, please leave a comment down below. It's,
yes, of course.
If you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on wherever you get your podcast, just, I don't know.
Then come to YouTube.
No, send us an email.
That too.
Send a letter to Tech Summit Studios.
And then a letter saying, I feel like you guys were not hard enough on the scalpers on the last episode. So do change that moving forward. Thank you.
We have plenty of episodes in the archives of us being extremely rough on scalpers and like very much ranting about how this needs to stop.
Yeah, like
it
mostly
needs to
early
stop.
on, but
It does need to stop.
it does.
It does.
Very much
But
does.
at least on my own end, I just want to sort of like look into this and just be like, how did we get here? And if there's something we can do about it, you know?
Yeah, well, to be realistic, I do not see this stopping anytime soon because while retailers are trying to put some things into place to like keep this from happening consistently, time after time after time, launch after launch after launch. It's still not working that effectively. Ultimately, one and two, manufacturers, or let's say NVIDIA, AMD, like they're the ones that really have to try a little bit harder to make it so that it is actually tougher to bot their sites. And I don't think that they're actually putting anything into place because when graphics cards launch, people mostly go to their sites. Understandably so. I mean, they are the manufacturers of these cards. So it is just worth keeping into consideration that these companies are not putting enough in place to really make it so that their sites are secure enough so that people can actually shop. Even if they just naturally end up selling out within a few minutes, let it be at least that it was because people were just on time.
Right.
Because it was due to their own efforts rather than because a bot beat them to it.
So, first off, actually, I want to know another impact of how these circumstances has made things worse. I've heard murmurings that there actually is a shortage of materials for making some of the chips.
That too.
That goes into like the GPUs and the same thing also the GPUs that go into like say for example the PS5 and so
yeah. And
like,
I get that. However, I'm going to counteract that by saying that NVIDIA is currently making
the 1010.
Well, not just the 1010, but we also have
the 1010.
The wonderful 1010. But we also have, that dedicated mining chip that they were making for being able to mine Ethereum.
Yeah.
Which are just RTX cards that have been stripped of their gaming capabilities. No, no display inputs or anything like that.
Yeah.
They're only for mining. But again, these are just mining cards. Well, like these are just normal graphics cards that are being stripped of their ability to game and only being allowed to be used for mining. So NVIDIA is taking graphics cards away from people to make these mining cards.
Oh, they certainly aren't helping themselves whatsoever by like diverting resources into these other cards that are very much more niche and probably aren't going to sell much at all, really.
NVIDIA does not give a...
Right. But, okay, so I have a theory or an idea, I suppose. I'm not saying it's one that can work.
I found
anyway,
the button. Yeah, go out.
So, for like, because you're talking about these websites and trying to verify that people are going to actually, like, these are not bots and stuff like that. You have to try and counteract the bots. Is there any sort of programs in place for like two-step authentication? Like, in order to buy one of these cards, you need to not just sign up for an account, but you need to also give yourself, you have to like tie a phone number to it, things like that. Because obviously, if you're just saying, oh, you need to make an account, then it's easy for a bot to use like an automatically generated email and just go with that. But a phone number, that requires actual verification and like, response feedback. Like, oh, put in a phone number. Now click the verification link that you get from that phone number. Like that would sort of circumvent the idea of possibly using like a bootleg phone number because, you need to actually respond back to it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And like you can't just use like a Google number for
Is
example.
that something that any of these companies have been thinking about trying?
I don't think so, because for a lot of these, including your phone number is just an extra security step that you can choose to take, so that people don't end up hacking into your accounts or anything like that. But I don't think that any of them have really made it a requirement so that like only authentic buyers can actually access it or make an account.
It's something worth looking into for this particular issue. It's like if you have, like, say, you have a Best Buy account and you want to buy one of these cards, you have to like put a phone number. And granted, of course, give people a heads up about that beforehand. Give people a heads up about that before the actual drop happens, because the last thing you want is to show up for the drop and all of a sudden you realize that you're all caught up trying to get your phone number all in there, and then all of a sudden it's sold out.
Yeah.
Like you don't want that. So like maybe give like a heads up a couple days beforehand, being like, those who wish to purchase this and this product must have two-factor authentication verified on their like.
Yeah,
account.
just something better,
Like-
because apparently CAPTCHA is very easy to get over.
Yes, it is. And of course, again, you can make the fake generated emails.
Yeah.
You can also make fake phone numbers, but if you have to actually like get a response back from that phone number, like again, a verification code sent to the number or a link, whatever it is, like if you do stuff like that, then suddenly a fake phone number doesn't really work for the bots because there's no real feedback coming from that side.
I think it's at least a stalling tactic, at the very least.
It is a step in the right direction. I'm spitballing an idea here. It's entirely possible that they tried it and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it's just an idea off the top of my head.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, something just has to be done here. Like, I do understand that there is just there are just a lot of things factoring in here, such as a shortage of materials and just, like so many different markets trying to get in and just increasing the demand this much. But there has to be some kind of solution so that people that are actually going to use these cards can actually get them. And right now, I don't see NVIDIA offering any assistance in that regard.
Right.
Yeah.
So before I suppose we conclude, do you think this is the new normal going forward? Like you're saying, like we're saying that it's going to last for a while.
Yeah.
But do you think later this year when they're announcing 3080 Supers or the year after when they're announcing the 40 series, do you think this is just the expectation going forward from here on out? Like we just permanently live in an environment full of scalping for GPUs.
I think
where you
so.
have to show up at Micro Center before opening if you have a Micro Center, and then if you don't have a Micro Center, you have to travel to one.
Yeah.
Because I got luck with Micro Center. A lot of other friends of mine did. That's how they got their cards.
Yeah. I really think that this is just going to continue. Absolutely, because this has been an issue in the past, even before the P word / demonetization / unforeseen circumstances. Like, there has been a reason to get so many of these cards and make it so that a lot of actual gamers or people who need these cards for work can't really get these cards at a normal price. Will it be to this extent? I don't think so.
Hope not.
I would hope not, but I also don't think so. However, I think that things will improve, hopefully by either the end of this year or next year. But again, with the super cards coming out, that might not necessarily be the case. It might only incentivize that even more. So again, we will have to see.
I do think we're in a sort of like bot war going forward when it comes to graphics cards. I think obviously stock will get better when it comes to, say, the consoles.
Yeah.
PS5, I'm fully confident that the PS5 stock will in fact sort of normalize by like end of summer, early fall. I believe.
I think consoles will get better a lot sooner, but
But-
graphics cards are going to be.
Graphics cards, honestly, I would not be surprised if this is in fact the new normal going forward. Obviously, with the exclusion of, say, the professional level, workstation ones like your Quadros and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see the Quadros getting scalped. Hopefully.
Not really, no, because
Like-
that market is still incredibly niche.
Is a very niche market,
Yeah.
and those cards are being scalped by NVIDIA themselves as it is. They don't need help.
Yeah, like you can even make that argument.
They do not need the help. But
Yeah.
I mean, it depends. If it turns out that like gamers do start turning to those Quadros
Mhm.
as like, hey, these do cost more, but you're not supporting scalpers and they can play games, then we're saying now we're all in trouble at that point.
They're not very good at gaming though, so that might be very counterproductive. But with that said,
I suppose, but
yep,
it is a sort of very difficult like thing that we're trying to. It's a tough situation. It
It is.
really is. And again, maybe I'll do an essay or something like that, video essay or something about the history of scalpers and how we got here. If you all are interested in that, definitely leave a comment.
I am. I'll comment.
Okay,
I'll make
great.
sure to comment.
Leave a comment on your own podcast video.
Oh, I will, and you're gonna read it.
But what's it called? I don't know. Like I said, scalping is definitely a huge issue, and you know,
It's got to get fixed.
30, 40.
That's
Hopefully,
really the
maybe
most
that
you're gonna
30, maybe
say.
that 30, 50, or 30, 40 are going to be these.
30, 50, or 34. Okay, well, first of all, I don't think a 30, 40 is going to exist. 30, 50, I don't think so. It's probably going to be like the 20, 50, 50, or like the 20, 50, 60 or something like that.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening in. If you guys are watching on YouTube, we have all of this information at the bottom of the video.
Of course, and if you're listening on other platforms such as Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, then do make sure to check out the description of the respective
Information.
places.
Although you do have a Tech Summit Discord. That's
There's also the Tech Summit Discord, so do make sure to check that out. Link
exactly
to that is going to be in the description. But with that said, this has been Francisco.
And Chris.
And we will be seeing you all on episode 33. Enjoy.
Good night. Travel well.
Scalping these graphics cards. No end in sight. Cash money, crypto mining, another.